Here we are on the second side of solving by factoring, and we're going to look to see what will no real solutions look like. Well, if we were to factor this, we would think, oh, well, I could pull out 2 for a start. So don't forget to pull out your GCF. X squared plus 3x plus 9 equals 0. So we can throw away the 2. We really only have to factor this. And then I would think, what multiplies together to get 9 and adds to get 3? Well, we've got 1 and 9, no good, and 3, neither of those add to 3, which for us it means it's not factorable, so for us there are no real solutions. So that's how you would know you had no real solutions. Another one over here. Let's pull out 5 and we'll get x squared plus 4 equals 0. Throw out the 5. Let's put x squared plus 4 equal to 0. We're going to solve for x. To start with, we will isolate the squared term. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. And here we have an issue, because you know we cannot square a real number and get a negative number. So again, that will mean no real solutions. Okay, now the applications, these are kind of fun. Here I've got a nice little sketch illustrating this question. The height of a diver above the water during a dive can be modelled by h for height is equal to negative 16t squared plus 8t plus 48. H is the height, t is the time in seconds. Find the time it takes for the diver to reach the water. So you notice here we have a shape of a parabola. So this is when we reach the water. So this will be what is the value on the x-axis, which is representing time. So this is a 0 of the function. So we're going to take our equation and factor it. And before we scream out saying no, no, we're going to remember to divide out our GCF, which we will use as negative 8. Can divide out, which means I will have positive 2t squared minus t minus 6, a lot more manageable. So we're going to throw out the negative 8 and we're going to factor this. So we're going to multiply a and c and get negative 12, and here's negative 1. So we have multiply together to get negative 12 and add to get negative 1. Well, 4 and 3 come to mind, don't they, because they're separated by 1. So we'd have to have negative 4 multiplied with positive 3 to create that and to create that. So we're going to split this up into 4 terms. 2t squared minus 4t plus 3t minus 6. Group GCF 2t, I think. We'll have t minus 2. Plus pull out 3, t minus 2. Good. Regroup, 2t plus 3 and t minus 2 equal to 0. All right, set both of these equal to 0. We'll set the first one equal to 0. 2t plus 3 is 0. Subtract 3 from both sides. 2t is negative 3. Divide out the 2. t equals negative 3 over 2. This tells us at negative 1.5 seconds they'll reach the water. So now you've got to think about negative time would have been here. So that didn't exist really, did it? And it's certainly not when they're getting into the water. So we actually throw that solution out. It doesn't work for this application. We'll take our second factor, set it equal to 0, add 2 to both sides, t is equal to 2. Well, that makes a lot more sense. So, when did the diver reach the water? It took 2 seconds, would be our answer. And that makes sense. One more example. Here we've got a geometry type thing. Length of a rectangle is 1 foot less than 3 times its width. The area is that, find the dimensions. Okay, so we're going to let W equal width. And so that means 1 foot less than 3 times. 3 times minus 1 equals the length. And remember, we would multiply these together. Whoops, to create area, that's just subtracting there, equals the area. Width times the length equals the area. I'm going to distribute 3w squared minus w equals 310. But before we go ahead and factor that, we need to get it in standard form. So we need to subtract 310 from both sides. Let's do that down here. 3w squared minus w minus 310 equals 0. Now we have to factor this. Doesn't look very nice. There's nothing I can factor out. So I have to decide what multiplies together to get 930. Whoa. And adds to get -1. Well, I have to admit that I did this ahead of time, but this -1, or if it was +1, would mean that the difference between the two numbers was 1. That means they're consecutive numbers. What two numbers, consecutive numbers, multiply to get that? And I immediately thought of 30 and 31. I've checked it on the calculation, it works. So we would have to have -31 multiplying with +30 to create that -930 product, and they will add to get that. So now we're going to go ahead and factor. So we have got 3w squared minus 31w plus 30w minus 310 equals 0. Group, divide out, I can't divide out 3 because of that 31, but I can divide out a w. 3w minus 31 plus divide out a 30. Can I divide out 30? No, I can divide out 3 then. No, I can divide out 10. Oh, I knew there was something wrong there. Divide out 10. 3w minus 31 equals 0. Regroup, w plus 10, 3w minus 31 equals 0. We're nearly there. We're going to set both of these equal to 0. If I set w plus 10 equal to 0, and I solve for w, I'm going to get w equals -10. I want you to think about how much sense having a negative distance of feet makes for a width. Another example of when we throw out the one of the solutions. So we'll concentrate on this one. We're going to set 3w minus 31 equal to 0. 3w is equal to +31, and w will be equal to 31 over 3. I'm actually going to have to use some of the space down here. So the width, what is that? Goes in 10 1/3 times. So the width is 10 1/3 feet. And then it says that the length was 1 foot less than 3 times that. So I'm going to have to multiply this by 3. Well, that'll get me back to 31, won't it? And if I subtract 1 from that, that will be 30 feet. So if I have a width of this and a length of that, I should be able to multiply these two together and get an answer of 310 feet. And that's how you would check that you'd got the right width and length. So there we have it. Width is that, length is that. You might want to go through this carefully to make sure that you've understood the technique, but it is just plain old factoring. Might be nasty, but it's plain old factoring. Often with these word problems, you're going to be throwing out one of the answers and then focus on the one that you have remaining. And we've got a couple of practice ones for you. I think I wrote this down as an example. It's not an example, it is a practice. So 2 for you to do here. Okay, and there we have it.